Got your Mega Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald here with you on Bird 65 on a Football Friday. Yes, we are going to talk about the game coming up on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. That's for darn sure. Eagles go out as a 9-point favorite into the Windy City. So can they get to 13-1? That is what we'll be breaking down for you over the next couple hours. I just want to do this at the top of the show, and then hopefully we can quasi put it to bed. I don't know if we can, but we can try. The off-field conversation about Jalen Hurts' MVP status continues when Micah Parsons comes out and attempts to explain why he said what he said the other day. I think it merits some discussion here. John, he said kind of what you and I were saying leading up to today's show all week. He's a defensive guy. What did you think? He was going to come in and sing the praises of Jalen? Oh, my God. We've got Jalen Hurts on the schedule 2 weeks from now. I don't know why we even show up. He's that good. I think that we should just forfeit the game now. Of course, he's a defensive guy. And that's what he explained. Yeah, I'm a defensive guy, and I'm going to give the Eagles defense a little credit. Why? Because I appreciate defense. I'm a defensive guy. I look at everything through a defensive lens. So, yeah, that's why I said what I said about the Eagles. I was giving a little credit to everybody.
Yeah. That's not that. And I said that, to me, that's not the problem. And the problem for the Cowboys is magnified by how the Eagles handle this. And I talked to Miles Sanders about it yesterday because Miles is Micah's buddy. Obviously, those Penn State guys run deep.
Right.
And Micah, Micah praised Miles as well. He looked at me and he smiled and he said, "Who are they playing this week?" And I said, "Jacksonville." And he said, "Maybe they should worry about Jacksonville." And he said he's my dog and all that stuff with Micah. But same thing Jordan Mailata said, except Jordan threw an F in there. I don't know who the F they're playing, but they should focus on them. That's why you don't do that stuff, because it explodes. And Mike is in there and he's getting all the questions and all that. And I said the Cowboys fans probably dislike him because he gave so much respect to the Eagles offense as a whole. The Eagles fans hate him because they think he disrespected the quarterback. That's why you do Nick Saban. That's why Jalen Hurts does. And he gave a 5-word answer. Rat poison. You stay away from it. That's the problem to me from Mike McCarthy's standpoint, the Dallas Cowboys. Do those shows after the season, or if you go on them, and you got to be like Jalen. You got to be like Jalen. But in the long run, obviously, it's much ado about nothing. I think Chris Sims now took the baton again.
Oh yeah,
and all these questions are right there about definitions, Jody. Like, what's your definition of MVP? My definition of MVP, John McMullen's is, all right, who's having the best season? And that's why I think Jalen Hurts is the MVP. It's not about, do I still think Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback? Yeah, I do. If Eagle fans want to get mad at that. I do. I think Patrick Mahomes is a better player. I think Jalen Hurts is the MVP this year. It's not about supporting cast. Supporting cast helps. I think he's having the best season. So some people say, is it the most important player to the team? Is it the most valuable player to the team? Is it guy with the most talent, just the best player? Or is it the guy having the best season? It all depends on your definition.
Yep.
But whether he finishes first or he finishes second, he's having a damn good season. And it doesn't matter for all these goofballs moving goalposts because they want to make themselves right. Yeah, move all the goalposts you want, Chris Sims. He's having a great season.
Right. And that annoys me more than what Micah Parsons did. If I'm an Eagle fan and I'm just judging from afar, what is this guy talking about? I'm more ticked off at what Sims said than what Parsons said, because at least Parsons is a player. So he has to look at it through the lens of a player. Chris Sims is now a football analyst. He's a former player, but he's a football analyst. That's his job. So that's what he does. He's trying to stir the pot. He doesn't have to worry about bulletin board material and how he's going to affect a future opponent. He should know better than that. And he does. He's a former quarterback, and he's a
former quarterback who's an analyst, and If you go all the way back to last year, he didn't have Jalen in his top 40. Everybody was upset by that, which was ridiculous. He's trying to make himself right by diminishing what Jalen Hurts does because of his supporting cast. And, by the way, I think they would be a good team or a playoff level team potentially with Gardner Minshew. But they wouldn't be
I don't know
12-1.
that.
They wouldn't be 12-1. They'd be struggling. They'd have a chance, like Washington has a chance and the Giants have a chance and maybe Detroit and maybe Seattle. They'd have a chance to make the playoffs, but they wouldn't be like this. They wouldn't be like this.
Yeah, that comparison, and then he laid it out the way he laid it out. They'd be good. They'd be a good team if Gardner Minshew was their quarterback. He has no idea if that's the truth or not. No one does. And for him to even go there, some people got upset because they said that Micah Parsons compared him to Brock Purdy, which, oh, by the way, Brock Purdy's had 2 good games now. He's actually got a higher.
Can I take a bow here, Jody? Because I thought, and from being on this show, I picked San Francisco to be in the Super Bowl. And my reasoning was, well, I don't know if Trey Lance is going to be any good, but I think he's going to be a little bit more explosive than Jimmy Garoppolo is. And if he can just do that, they're going to be a significant Super Bowl contender. They were already a significant Super Bowl contender. Now he gets hurt, Jimmy gets hurt, and now Brock Purdy comes in, and he's been the guy who's just a little bit more explosive, a little bit more of a playmaker than Jimmy Garoppolo. And all of a sudden, they look like world beaters with this, rookie quarterbacks. I mean, that is the team. We talk about teams you don't want to play. That is the team I don't want to see in the playoffs. I hope there's an upset. And I know there's a rookie quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan, I got thought, I'm only here for the first hour. I want to talk for 6 hours because there's so much stuff I want to talk about. Kyle Shanahan, who is the best play schemer in this game, even better than Andy Reid. I would say Andy's close, but number 3 is not close. But you know what? Kyle makes a lot of mistakes, and this is I'm all over the place, and I apologize, Jody. This is what I talk about Nick Sirianni and going back to being the CEO coach. He makes a lot of mistakes, Kyle Shanahan, with game management. He's taking a timeout instead of losing a half yard, bad challenge. Yeah, he's a great play caller. He's a wizard. You saw that play to George Kittle. That's brilliant stuff. But you get bogged down. And that's why I like CEO coaches.
Understood. As do I. I feel the same way. But Purdy has looked pretty damn good. And the comp that Micah Parsons made between the Eagles and the 49ers. And don't kid yourself, that's more than it was a comparison of the Eagles team and the 49ers team than it was the quarterbacks, Purdy and Jalen Hurts. At least they didn't say you can put in the backup and still be a great story. Yeah, I got no idea what the Eagles would be with. You got more faith in what Gardner Minshew could be doing with this team than I do.
Well, I think it's a good comp in that Brock Purdy's a backup. He's a third-string quarterback, and San Francisco's still good. They're still a playoff-level team where they have been. It's a very small sample size. He's going to have some troubles. I mean, at some point, he's going to have some troubles. Gardner's very experienced. But again, I'm talking about Washington level. I'm talking about the Giants level. Washington and the Giants are playing each other this week, and the winner is probably going to make the playoffs the way things look. But they're scratching and clawing to make the playoffs. The Eagles aren't scratching and clawing. I'm saying with Gardner Minshew, they are so talented. They are so good from 2 through 53 on that roster. I think they would be a playoff level team right on the cusp, not 12-1, right on the cusp of Washington territory, the Giants territory with the backup quarterback. That's how good they are. But there's a big difference between Gardner Minshew in Jalen Hurts.
That's and the way that Sims stated, I think he minimized that difference between the two. I'd be a lot more ticked off at Chris Sims, Eagle fan, than I would be at Micah Parsons for throwing shade, disrespecting, use whatever phrase you want for the Eagles quarterback this week. It doesn't seem to me that and Micah Parsons walked it back a little bit yesterday, saying, "Hey, I'm a defensive guy. I look at everything through a defensive lens. Shoot me if you believe that." And you want to talk about disrespect? I'll tell you where the Eagles got disrespected this week. And that's Micah Parsons' Penn State buddy, Miles Sanders. Every Wednesday at some point, John McMullen stays on top of it. He jumps in here on Birds 365. Oh, another Eagle Award winner. Hold on. Let me get this to you guys. Defensive Player of the Week, Brandon Graham for his 3 sacks. Miles Sanders had an unbelievable game against the Giants. He was, for me, their best player on the blowout on Sunday. Jalen Hurts is MVP, but Miles had a great day. Career high in rushing, 144 yards. He didn't get either the FedEx Ground and Air Award, which the NFL gives out every single week, which they gave to Christian McCaffrey, who didn't have near as many yards as Miles did. No career-setting day for Christian McCaffrey against a lesser squad than the Giants played, an actual team than the Eagles played, the Giants, a team above 500. And he wasn't the offensive player of the week either. They gave that to Baker Mayfield. Now, I guess I understand that because it was as weird as it was. He shows up 2 days later. He's still mumbling the plays to himself, so he knows the name of them in the huddle, and the coaches called him in verbatim right up until they shut off the microphone. And damn if you didn't march him down for 2 late touchdowns and steal a victory from the jaws of defeat. But his numbers were pedestrian over the course of the game. Miles were all-time best in his career.
Yeah, that's
so
why.
There's a guy who got shortchanged yet this week. Miles Sanders should be more ticked off about that, Eagle fans, than Micah Parsons saying, "Well, Jalen Hurts has got some good teammates around him."
Yeah, I can't get upset. I mean, Player of the Week awards they don't like to give it. It was rare for Jalen to get it 2 weeks in a row. That's like news because they don't give it to people 2 weeks in a row. They don't give the same team multiple awards on the same week. So you almost got to pick somebody. Or is it for the Eagles because they've had so many games where you could pick an offensive and defensive player of the week. They're not doing that. And a lot of it is high profile. Baker's situation. It's all nonsense. It's all, it's great for the players.
Well,
I shouldn't say that.
But we're getting bent out of shape about an MVP.
Well, people get bent. Like people get bent out of shape about anything. I said, I put up the video of that play, which, by the way, that play is used in college football all the time from San Francisco last night. So, all football is stealing from other people. But it was just so beautiful the way San Francisco ran it. And I'm talking about the 2 fakes, and then Kittle breaks out. And he's so wide open. That's how you scheme guys open. Not that you need to scheme George Kittle open, but he schemed him open. And it's a touchdown. It's a great play. And I just put it up and said, this is why I love Kyle Shanahan so much. So, the Eagles fans are going, that plays all smoke and mirrors. I got one guy on Twitter, never work against the Eagles.
What does that have to do with Miles Sanders not getting?
Well, I'm getting to the point, Jody. That play, Eagles fans get upset about everything. Eagles fans get upset about everything. You can't get upset about Miles Sanders not being player of the week when Brandon Graham's player of the week. They don't give it to the same team. So you pick one or the other. Now, if you want to say Miles should have gotten it over Brandon, that's a more legitimate argument, but I can't get upset about people not getting players of the week. And they got a player of the week. They're not giving it to the same team. I don't think it's ever happened. Now, they've been giving it out since 84. So, maybe there was a 50-0 game where somebody was so dominant. I'm not saying it's never happened, but it rarely happens. They don't give it to the same team.
Except they should have this week, in this man's opinion, just my opinion. It doesn't matter to me if an Eagles performance was the most impressive in the National Football League last week, and they happen to have a guy on offense and a guy on defense who both had the best weeks in the NFL. And yeah, I think it was slighted. If you don't want to get down into the muck and mire with me, that's okay, John. I have no problems getting there. They slighted Miles Sanders.
Well, I haven't looked about the other. I bet you there's 10 players, offensive players, actually 20 offensive players that had better weeks than Baker Mayfield. I get he didn't have a great week. He had one drive.
That's my point. Thanks for making it for me. All right, Jody McDonald, John McMullen here with you on Bird Street 65. Up next, our bud from the Inquirer, Mike Sealski, top sports columnist in town, is going to join us here on Bird Street 65.